Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor. It was a stunning day yesterday in the White House as John Kirby, the spokesperson for the National Security Council, took the podium. But to set the stage, let's remind you what he said on Sunday, specifically about this summit between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Here, watch.
So we'll watch what comes out of this meeting here Monday through Wednesday of President Xi to Moscow, the state visit, if you will. But what we have said before, and we'll say it again today, that if coming out of this meeting there's some sort of call for a ceasefire, well, that's just going to be unacceptable.
Ceasefires are unacceptable. We still need another couple 100,000 people to die here. We will not stand for a ceasefire. Don't give peace a chance. What's going on there? Let's bring in Tony Shaffer. He is the president of Project Sentinel. He was also national security advisor on the Trump 2020 campaign. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Sure, it's always great to join you, Larry.
Well, we've talked about this before. This is this very odd behavior here where we acknowledge. I mean, what are the numbers now that were finally revealed with regard to the body count out of Ukraine in terms of the casualties?
Between 100 and 200,000, and there's a variety of reports relating to how many of those are dead. Most of those are dead, otherwise incapacitated. So we're talking about coming up on 250,000 casualties overall, Larry. It's significant, and it's not going to stop. And I'm a little bit shocked that John, let's kill him and let God sort him out, Kirby, is so completely against any idea of a ceasefire. It's just atrocious that he would be so adamant about the idea that we should talk about ending the war, and even if that means the Chinese offer that as a possibility.
Well, he's certainly not the only one. There's plenty of conservative commentators who would agree with that. Here's the argument. Here's how it goes, Tony. I know you know it, so get ready to engage in it.
Yeah.
A ceasefire right now is exactly what Vladimir Putin wants. This is a long, drawn-out affair. We've got him where we want him. He is in a weakened state, and if you have a ceasefire, you can't trust him. It just gives him a chance to retool, reload, regroup, rest up, and then come back at it.
Yeah, it's not true. Look, right now, Bakhmut is what we call a cauldron. That is to say, Larry, that the Russians have surrounded the city except for one road that goes in and out, and to the point of attrition. The Russians right now are using probably about maybe a quarter of their military reserves. They've called up a great deal of folks. They've trained them. They're prepared for offensive operations. They're being very economic with their forces. Are they taking casualties? Absolutely. Are they losing significant amounts of people? Yes. But they have far more people to lose than the Ukrainians. So what they're doing right now is they're letting the Ukrainians use military force extravagantly in one location, basically attriting the Ukrainians. And so anybody who actually studies warfare understands this is a losing proposition, that Putin, it's kind of like he's a 6'5" guy holding back a 5'2" guy, basically letting him take all these punches, and none of them are really doing any real damage. He's not going to knock this guy down. But at the same time, you're losing energy, and that's what's happening here. So I don't believe that the Ukrainians are in a winning situation, and the more we prolong this, we're prolonging the pain of the Ukrainian people.
Well, because they are making a calculation. And let's be clear, if this is the public statement here with regard to this meeting between Xi and Putin, clearly this is what we're communicating to the leadership in Ukraine, that we are against a ceasefire and we are advising you not to move toward a ceasefire. So that sort of boxes Zelensky in as well. Because if he agrees to a ceasefire for the sake of the people of his nation to try to help spare them bloodshed, then he's defying the United States of America. He's defying Joe Biden. So, I mean, our official policy now is, I guess, not to give peace a chance. Even when we were engaged in wars, like the Korean War, the Vietnam War, we endorsed ceasefires. We were fine with ceasefires when it was our people dying.
Well, look, technically, Larry, there is still a state of war in Korea. There's an armistice. There's still a state of war exists between North Korea and South Korea. That's the way it is. And at this point, the same argument can be made about the Ukrainians. Ukrainians would have time to retool, re-equip, and acquire more trained personnel. I mean, I think we need to be looking at it as like you've got a tired military on your hands that is, yes, God bless them. They've been doing a great job of going after the Russians, but they can't sustain it. They do not have indefinite supplies. And one of the things too, Larry, that's being missed here is the Chinese now are taking on the mantle of being the adult in the room. The fact is, they're meeting with Putin. Putin is open to their 12-point plan. And look what happens if Xi goes now to Kiev and talks to Zelensky and says, "Have I got a deal for you?" That means we're completely out. And we've lost all ability to leverage the situation, which, by the way, happened in Obama. We were left out of any negotiations regarding Syria during the time that Obama was in office for the same reasons, leading from behind.
And I wonder how much of this is just Joe Biden's ego. You know, if Xi negotiates a ceasefire, he gets the Nobel Peace Prize. So nope, got it. Then Biden steps in. He negotiates the exact same ceasefire, and hello, Nobel Committee. Listen, I want to turn to some other things. John Kirby yesterday,
Sure.
I'll say you're a CIA-trained intelligence officer, retired from the United
Yes.
States Army. You know a little bit about secrets, about espionage, about war, spyfare, I should say.
Right.
Watch this statement about the origins of COVID-19.
He says he will declassify COVID origins intel except info that would harm national security. Is there a bigger national security threat than something that killed 1.1 million people?
Yeah,
in this country?
I've seen some of the commentary on your network about this. The president obviously has to balance transparency with national security. Peter, of course he does.
Listen, here's the thing, Tony. This is about the origins of COVID. So why would the recipe for bat soup from a wet market in Wuhan be a national security problem?
Well, it's not. So let me break down what John Kirby's saying. John Kirby is saying he wants to have those who are guilty of funding the gain of function research left out of it. That's what the national security issue is. It's not about the origins. Every major agency that has intelligence collection and analysis capability is confirmed it came from Wuhan, from the lab. It did not come from some wet market. And what they're trying to hide at this point is the fact that Dr. Fauci, through Daszak and others, the World Health Alliance, I believe was the name of the company, funded the very research which allowed for the gain of function to occur. And that gain of function then, I believe, was either accidentally or purposely released by the Chinese doctors at that lab. That's the way it is. And they're
Tony,
trying to hide the guilt.
Is there not a way to release that kind of information and intelligence?
Of course there is.
Act those things that would still protect national
Of course,
security?
no. Look, Larry, I did this. We've done this a day or two. You can relax. You can redact and remove sourcing from content. We used to do this all the time for counter drug operations. We would get all sorts of tips that would help the Navy do interception, but we would remove the source. Like, hey, be at the corner of walk and don't walk, and that's where it's going to happen. You can do it. It's not an issue. But this is a choice being made at the policy level to protect the guilty on our side. That's why you see this going on.
And again, I mean, they're sort of, listen, this is something that was literally passed unanimously in Congress. You want bipartisan agreement on something, it's to release this and make it transparent. You're telling me that if Joe Biden doesn't do that, it's because he's protecting Anthony Fauci. He's protecting people on our side.
Look, I've been a whistleblower, Larry. We've talked about this. Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to not release pertinent factual information regarding origins, vectors, and other basic knowable facts. How you figured it out, you don't have to disclose. The two are completely separate. John Kirby is being disingenuous at best.
And well, that's on behalf of a pretty disingenuous, duplicitous president. So I guess that goes with the territory. Let's not forget, though, his last job was for CNN. So, you know, it's a pattern of behavior. Tony Shaffer, thanks for joining us. There's more to come. Keep it here on O'Connor Tonight. You're watching the mighty Salem News Channel.